Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday's Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break. We are thrilled to be welcoming Selena Pagan to our conversation today. Selena served as president of the Young Latino Network until taking the helm of the organization as its first executive director just 3 months ago. She's a graduate of St. Martin de Porres High School and Cleveland State University, and she began her working career at the Northeast Ohio Hispanic Center for Economic Development at the same time as she started her undergraduate studies. Since that time, she has always been a respected community activist and entrepreneur and has her own startup, consulting, and marketing firm supporting small businesses. In addition, she gives back mightily to the larger community, having served on the Young Professionals Council, the Jumpstart Leaders Council, and as an appointed trustee to the Newburgh Heights Community Improvement Corporation. In addition, you may recognize her because she has hosted and coordinated countless events for the Latinx community. She's been recognized by Crain's Cleveland Business in 2017 as 20 in their 20s, as a Northeast Ohio Top 25 Under 35 Mover and Shaker, and she received the 2018 Hispanic Heritage Leadership Award. And in her spare time, you just may find her out registering young voters for our upcoming elections. So Selena, welcome to our conversation. I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. I really appreciate that. I need all of that in writing because I didn't even know I did all that until you mentioned it. It's been, quite the 7 years of doing this work. So I really appreciate that. I am so excited to be here with you all today. I don't get to say this, or I never got to say this as often as I do now, but my name is Selena Pagan. I am the executive director of the Young Latino Network. So thank you guys for joining us today. It is an honor to be here with you all, and I'm really excited to share some of the work that, the Young Latino Network has done historically, and sharing a little bit more about the vision for the future. Currently, I am about 65 days in as the executive director, which puts me in the middle of our 30, 60, 90-day transition plan. Thanks to support from the Cleveland Foundation, we were able to hire consultants to help us transition as I, step down from the board of directors to the first executive director. Fortunately, in 2020, we were able to hire a community engagement coordinator as our first full-time staff. And then she moved on to an amazing job at the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. And so I think, I mentioned that previously in another interview that, we want to see our Latinx individuals grow in their career paths. And it was a great opportunity for us to take a step back and say, hey, we need to invest in leadership. The Young Latino Network was founded in 2002, ran by a volunteer board of directors who every single person had their day jobs, their side hustles, and their families to take care of. And so putting the pressure of running a nonprofit organization in the city of Cleveland, trying to do some mighty work, wasn't fair for our dedicated board members that have been cycling on and off the board for the last 2 decades. And so investing in leadership was something that we found to be like, the time is now. We don't have any more time to waste. And so I think that for us, setting the foundation for the Young Latino Network is what we're trying to do now. Create something that's long-term and sustainable, something that, we haven't had the privilege of doing in the past. When we're looking at our long-term planning and futures, oftentimes our communities are surviving and are in survival mode. And so how often do we get to invest in creating something that is sustainable, that is long-term, that is strategic, that is authentic, that is by the community, for the community? And that's what I have the pleasure of doing with the Young Latino Network now. And it's an honor to take on this role. And I cannot do this alone. And I don't do this alone. We have a really amazing board of directors that has been very hands-on for the last couple of years. And now they get to transition and develop and grow as a governance board. And that is a huge undertaking for folks who are very hands-on. And so we have a lot of moving pieces as we're transitioning as an organization. And so it has been no easy task because I didn't realize, and I kind of knew, but really it wasn't until I stepped into the role that, oh, I have to create HR procedures and accounting documents and a lot of things that, I've had experience with working with all these nonprofit organizations, but no, I have to do everything from scratch. And so, it's funny, this journey has been something incredible. And we've had a lot of amazing people supporting us, whether it's liking a simple post on Facebook or following us on Instagram or attending an event or providing a donation. Literally any little thing helps with the Young Latino Network. And that, we've seen people support in so many different ways. What started off as a young professionals group in 2002 has evolved into a social impact organization. We see the gaps in the leadership development pipeline. We see the gaps with board members within our own nonprofit ecosystem and our ally nonprofit organizations. And so what we're doing today, as we're still building the momentum of building a network of people, right? We have some incredible Latino, Latina, Latinx individuals in Northeast Ohio who are doing their thing in whatever organization, corporation, small business that they're in. And so how do we build power as a community, knowing that Latino, Latina, Latinx individuals have been on the back burner for these elections, right? So it all ties in together. And I'm kind of walking you through like all the stuff that's happening in my head every day as I'm talking through this stuff. We have narrowed down our 3 core pillars. So YLN has developed or has created 3 core competency pillars that we're really focusing on and narrowing on, and that is development. And under our development pillar, it's career development, leadership development, professional development, and one that's really not talked about enough, which is individual development. And so how are we providing opportunities for our folks to develop as community members, right? As emotionally intelligent community members who are active voters. And so there's a lot under that development pillar where we can support and kind of build community together. The second pillar is our civic education and civic engagement pillar. And so that is has everything to do with voter mobilization and trying to activate our community here in Northeast Ohio as active voters and as civically engaged community members and neighbors. Even though some of our folks aren't eligible to cast a ballot, they can still advocate, right, for what they need in our communities. And that is really important to us as well. Under civic engagement, we did a lot of our census mobilization work. And so we have a couple of years to get prepped for the next census because what happened last year is not going to cut it. And we need to build a better strategy around mobilizing our folks for the census in 2030. That's so weird to say, 2030. Sounds like a long time away, but and so like the final piece to civic education is really like, we're not going to see enough change until we start running for office. So how are we building a political pipeline to teach our people how to run for something, whether it's a school board, whether it is, whatever it is, our people need to run, right? Run for something. And so getting a strategy built around how we can mobilize our community to cast a ballot, advocate, and organize while also running for something. And that is really important to us. The last pillar is something that is new to us, but important and a very core factor of the work that we're doing. Our last pillar, we call it social and cultural awareness. Social and cultural awareness has everything to do about our identities as Latinos, Latinas, Latinx individuals, navigating systems in which we're a part of here in Northeast Ohio and in the United States. And so that means, how does my identity as a Puerto Rican woman navigating in what economic development or the nonprofit sector, how does that impact how I go about my everyday work, how I go about voting, how I go about being a good neighbor? And so we know that a lot of the systems in which we're a part of oftentimes force us to assimilate to a dominant culture. And so how do we create spaces where we can genuinely and authentically be ourselves as Latino, Latina, Latinx as we want to be, right? As queer as we want to be, as whatever we want to be, without having to silence that or code switch or whatever else that is And then how do we bridge the cultures around within our own community and our allies, understanding that our community is not monolithic, right? We have 20 other countries that make up our community. And so I'm Puerto Rican. I may not understand all the issues that our Mexican community is having, right? Or our Dominican community is having. And so it's really important that we have a lot of work to do within our own community and then with our allies, right? What is it? How are we being good allies to our Black African American community members or our AAPI or our Muslim community members? And so a lot of that is around the intersectionality of our identities and how we navigate a lot of these systems in which we're a part of. That is a lot of work to do, and I'm only on 60 days, so don't expect any of that to get done just yet. We are working on a long-term strategy to essentially embed a lot of this work into the everyday work that we were already doing. So a lot of the day-to-day stuff and the community work that YLN is doing, we're boots on the ground for voter registration and voter mobilization, and it's a lot of work, and it's not an easy undertaking. And we continue to find ourselves in this chicken or the egg thing. And I imagine every nonprofit director and executive and staff has found themselves in this chicken or the egg kind of cycle. And so it's like, we need volunteers to do the work, but we need a volunteer management system. And like, how do we engage volunteers and how do we engage funders and donors? And so it's been a lot of this chicken and the egg conversation and then trying to chip away at it one thing at a time and figuring out how do we build systems within our own organization to help achieve that work. And so again, only 60 days in, so like working on it, but it's been quite the roller coaster. You know, we've seen the gaps and we know what's missing, and we know that part of what's missing is the resources into organizations like ours and other Latinx organizations in the city. You know, there was a report through the Cleveland Foundation that showed between 2008 and 2018 that only 0.66% of their budget went to Latinx organizations. So less than 1% of the foundation's dollars going to organizations, right? And then there's the part where like, we're not asking, right? We're not asking enough. And so we need to also push our philanthropic partners to invest in us. And I know that oftentimes it's a chicken or the egg thing. They want us to have all our things teed up. And unfortunately, we haven't had the opportunity or privilege to do that. So how do we use them also as a partner to help coach us and like tee us up for something like this? And so thankfully, we have some amazing partners who have been supporting us and providing a lot of technical support to like get us to where we need to be. What do data management systems for us look like, right? What does, what do our everything, like all of the organizing, we've had to learn how to mobilize and organize people and how to organize ourselves at the same time. And so it's been a lot of front-facing work and a lot of behind-the-scenes work as we're trying to build out something incredible and something that can, really challenge and push the systems here in Northeast Ohio to ensure that like our community has the resources and whatever it is that they need. And so one of the biggest pieces is within our own community. And I think one of the things that we need to address is that we've had this scarcity mentality as nonprofit organizations, and entities in general. And so how do we combat that? And how do we create a united front to ensure that like, this isn't about us. This is not about Selena. This is not about any individual. This is about the resources that are going to like, I think part of this is unlearning a lot of like oppressive behaviors that we've internalized as community members, and also challenging that and addressing the trauma that has existed within this work, especially in the nonprofit sector. It's very challenging. And so we're diving into a lot of heavy stuff, and there's a lot to talk about, and I can keep going, but I give you guys a lot of what's in my head, a lot of what YLN is talking about and doing. And so I kind of want to open it up for some Q&A, Rachel, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Selena. And for those on the call, any questions you have, again, put those in the chat. But let's start with how many individuals are currently involved in YLN, and what are your plans to grow and welcome more?
Yeah, so we have about 500 folks who are active in the network, throughout the year, going to events and doing activities and volunteering. One of the things that YLN, just to kind of get organized, we just did was signed up to a new platform to help manage our member base. And so we needed something to be able to track our members and offer opportunities and engage folks. And so hopefully with this new system, we can organize ourselves to capture a more realistic number of who we are and where we are as members, because, although we're based in Cleveland, we have a very regional reach, and a lot of folks are asking for YLN to be ready and get their stuff together, because a lot of folks want to be engaged. And so, right now we have an online member form that you can fill out on our website. We're revamping it and creating something new within the next couple months. So that's going to be exciting, and trying to figure out what exactly does it mean to be a member of the Young Latino Network. And what does it mean to support YLN? And so we're trying to flush a lot of these questions out as we're growing as an organization, to see what are the opportunities and what our community needs exactly of this sort of membership model, and how we can better support our folks.
So as you look out at the work that you do in the community, who do you collaborate with? What other organizations, what other groups throughout the community, and what have you learned through those collaborations so far?
Who don't we collaborate with? We've tried to collaborate with as many folks as possible, because we know that this work isn't just about us, right? And I think that the more we collaborate and create strategic partnerships, the more resources that come down, that trickle down into our communities. And so we have so many different partnerships within the Latino nonprofit sector, trying to navigate and collaborate strategically with our partner organizations when, our strategies and missions align, to all of our ally memberships who are whether they're ethnic based cultural groups, or they're just longtime nonprofit organizations that have existed in the city. We're a very malleable organization, right? Our members are in everything. So when it comes to our members who are in the health sector, how do we partner with the Northeast Ohio Hispanic Health, organization to support their work and volunteer with them? How do we help with, all kinds of pieces? So we're all over the place on collaboration and membership. We just partnered with SIF for in the Annisfield Book Awards to showcase one of the films that was featured during SIF that had everything to do with the Puerto Rican community. And that was a really amazing partnership. And so we just partnered with Latino Theater for a Noche de Teatro at their new theater. And so we can make any partnership work. So if you're interested in partnering with the Young Latino Network, I know we have members who align with the work that you're doing. So please reach out to us and give me time, because I told you I'm only 66 days in. So I'm still navigating all of this. Thank you very much.
And actually, our next question touches upon health. Will you have a policy agenda that may include public health issues?
So one of the things that I did leave out, which is kind of important, and we're still working on it, in 2020, we had the opportunity to build a new organization. We hadn't quite gotten YLN off the ground, but we still did it because the opportunity arose, and we created Avanzamos Unidos, which is our sister organization, which is a 501c4. And the 501c4 organization is going to work on building political Latinx power in the state of Ohio with a policy and advocacy platform. And so as we're building up our C4, a lot of that work is going to come out through that organization, Avanzamos Unidos. And I was just meeting with the chair of that board last night to talk about what does that look like for us. Timing is everything. We really need to, we have some amazing Latinx individuals in the policy sector and doing advocacy work. And so how do we mobilize and organize to push for policies that really impact our community? So yes, in a sense, we do our C3 friendly work whenever it comes to health work through one of our partner organizations, NOAA, who is really focused in Hispanic Latino health And we are doing that through right now. A lot of our health work is around COVID-19 vaccinations. So we are working with COVID-19 outreach strategies and have kind of different task force and coalitions to do that work. And so we know that what we do here at YLN is holistic, right? Like we can't expect people to develop professionally or develop as civically engaged community members if their health isn't in order, right? Whether it's their mental health, physical health, their neighborhood health, community health. And so a lot of this work, we do it through a holistic lens. And that's why it kind of seems overwhelming at times of a lot of the work that we do and a lot of the things that we talk about, but it's because we can't go into this work thinking of just one thing, when the reality is that we need to look through a holistic view of this work and the impact that it's having within our community. Hope that answered your question.
So as you look beyond YLN, you look out to the community, what do you most hope to see for the Latinx community in Cleveland?
There are a couple of underlying things that we talk about when we are talking about the work that we're doing, right? The impact of this. And it's work that we may plant the seed today, but I might not see in my lifetime, and that's okay, right? I think the biggest piece is for us to identify who's next in line to take over this work. I just started, but I'm already thinking of succession planning because I don't want to be here forever and I need to pass the baton. And so part of this is this succession planning across the board in our communities. And then the other part is building generational wealth and achieving equity, racial equity, and social justice. And there's a lot of pieces that come within that, right? A lot of these things and programs and events that we're creating are chipping away like a little bit, right? No matter what it is, it's pushing the needle a little bit more. And so when we're talking about this work that we're doing and why we want to ensure that we have the opportunity to develop our folks through individual development, professional career leadership development, is because at the end of the day, we know that we're investing in people, and people are the people are going to move the needle on things, right? And mobilize and organize and build, do what they need to do. At the end of the day, like the one thing we have control over is ourselves. And so how do we ensure that like what we're doing with our lives, with our individual lives, moves the collective agenda, right? Because what we need is progress, and we need our folks, unfortunately, like a lot of our community members have lost a lot of hope and faith in our like local government and our nation when it comes to democracy building. And like, you know, that is critical to push for health policies that are going to impact their day-to-day lives, their wages as workers, right? The ability to start up a business. And so for me, everything is connected when we're talking about this work. And so, you know, it's seeing our folks build better lives and change systems while they're doing it. And that's a big undertaking. And we don't expect everyone to do that because we know that oftentimes we're in survival mode. So how do we get community members from survival mode to thriving, right? Because that is a real thing. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of the things I would like to see out of this work beyond just YLN, because it's not, YLN isn't going to make that happen. It's the community that's going to make that happen.
So Selena, let's focus on you. So you just transitioned from volunteer board member to full-time executive director. How has that transition gone for you? How is it stepping into that role?
So the other day I was thinking to myself, like, oh, you're a grown woman, Selena. Like, you got grown woman responsibilities. And I wasn't ready for that. I was like, oh, I had to step into this role. I had to step into a lot of things at 25. So I'm 25 and it's been quite the journey. I carry a lot of this weight on my shoulders and it's heavy work. But if it weren't for a lot of amazing people who have my back and like are supporting us in this journey, me and this organization, like it wouldn't be possible. And so, it's been like a blessing, and it's been a lot of work, and it's not easy. And I cry a lot because like that's the reality. It's hard work. And I don't know where, this is gonna lead to or what this is gonna lead to, but it's been a great opportunity for me to figure out, my leadership style, my leadership role, and what does it mean for me to be a leader. And who am I a leader of? Like, I'm not trying to be a leader in this community, honestly, like that, in a way, in a self-centered way. It's kind of something that just kind of happened. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity for folks who trust me to do this work. And at the end of the day, like, I hope that I have built enough, like a good enough relationship with people where folks can hold me accountable, like call me out on my, beep, because I want to be held accountable. I think like this work is nothing if it's not done the way, like in a righteous way. And so I think that is something that I am really grateful for. And at the end of the day, like we get consumed with like this work, right? This work defining who we are as people. And I always tell myself, if my mom and dad are proud of me, then I don't care what anybody says, because that's all that matters to me, is that my parents and my family are proud of me and what I'm doing, even though they don't understand what I'm doing half the time. So it's, it's kind of a hit or miss there, but that's kind of what I have.
Well, and you clearly have some additional fans in the chat as well. So we'll make sure you get these comments afterwards. But let's look to the future. So where do you want to see YLN in the next 10 years? And what excites you most about the opportunities that lie ahead?
Oof, YLN in 10 years. I hope I am not the executive director anymore in 10 years, that's for sure. But I really hope that YLN has built an amazing work culture and has hired enough staff to carry out this work in Northeast Ohio. But after 10 years, we would love to see what YLN is doing on a statewide level. And so I don't know if 10 years is going to be enough to do this work and push it statewide, but our goal is definitely to build something, a model that can be replicated and malleable, kind of make it what it needs to be to fit other communities, other Latino, Latinx communities in Ohio. And so I think that excites me a lot. The other piece is, in 10 years, we better have built enough political power to like make some real changes in Northeast Ohio and the state as a whole. And so that also really gets me going, to be honest. It's like, let's build political power. Let's change some things, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen for us to really make progress and thrive in the state of Ohio. And that, that starts right in our own homes. And so we have a lot of work to do.
We have time for one more question. So what do you want those on the call to know most about your organization, and how can we help you achieve your vision?
Ooh, yes, I love that, because we could use as much help as we can get. I think that YLN, and now in this transition phase and taking this next year to really build a long-term sustainable future, we could really use everyone's support in any way possible, right? Whether it's donating today, whether it's providing technical support, whether it's supplying some office furniture for our new office, like whatever it is, subscribing to our e-newsletter, liking us on Facebook, Twitter, following us on Twitter, following us on Instagram and LinkedIn. Anything helps, sharing with other, Latino, Latina, Latinx individuals that we exist, right? Because a lot of folks don't don't know or aren't aware that we exist. And kind of sharing our information to get these folks on board, to see what this vision and future for us looks like. And if they align with it, like join, right? We have two types of memberships. We have a Latinx membership and we have an ally membership. So allies who align with our vision are more than welcome to join the Young Latino Network. And that's, that is, and I don't know what I don't know. Like, if you know something that I don't, that you think will help the Young Latino Network, please share that information with me and reach out and let's have coffee, because we could use whatever support you guys can give.
Well, Selena, we are so excited to hear about all of the work that you are doing, and your passion just comes through so much. And we cannot wait to watch the work that you do when you get past your 60 days. And for what are you going to do even at 90 days? So, Selena, thank you so much for being here. And please let us all know how we can continue to support your work.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate it.